While you're off work, I've given you something nice and Christmassy to do. I want you to design a costume for the pantomime Cinderella. Here's a great example of the different characters and the different costumes that you would see in a pantomime under the title of Cinderella. For this task, you can choose whatever character you'd like from the pantomime Cinderella, and I'd like you to be really imaginative and come up with a design that they would use as a stage costume. One of the things you want to make sure of is that your design is unique. In other words, you haven't copied it, it's like nobody else's, it's completely original. I would also like you to colour it fully. You can make use of other designs to influence you, but don't simply copy anything. Make sure that it's got your own touches to it. You can do more than one design, and you can design for more than one character. That's entirely up to you. In this slide, you can see a good example of how over the top the costume designs are. So what is Cinderella? So Cinderella is a really well-known fairy story, and it's turned into one of the most popular pantomimes that we have in Britain at recent times. It's the story of a poor orphan girl living with her nasty stepmother and her nasty stepsisters, and they're really mean to her. Basically, she finds true love and happiness with a handsome Prince Charming after going to a ball with the help of a fairy godmother. Now, there have been very different variations in this over the years, but the main storyline has not changed. So basically, it's a poor girl that becomes rich. Okay, once again, if you have a look at this picture, you can see how flamboyant and bright and colourful the stage costumes are. Well, who wrote Cinderella? Originally, it's believed that a French writer called Charles Perrault wrote the story that we're familiar with these days, and the one that Disney in fact used in the 1950s classic film. However, there are also earlier stories, and one dates back to 2,000 years ago, about a Greek slave girl who marries the king of Egypt. So it's a very similar storyline where somebody goes from rags to riches. Some of you may be familiar with the Disney film from the 1950s, and this is one of the images from that, where the fairy godmother turns Cinderella from a little maid into a beautiful princess. Cinderella got her name, which means the girl of little ashes, because if you think of it, the word cinder is ashes, and you get those around a fire, and then Ella has been stuck at the end, so that's how she got her name, because she tended the fire. Here are some examples of poor Cinders, as she's sometimes called, as Cinderella is sat by the fire. Here we've got some examples of Cinderella sitting by the fire or working by the fire, and showing us how she got her name. So the story of Cinderella shows us a poor girl who is in dire straits, not looked after very well by her stepsisters and her stepmother, and finally, through all her hard work, she is freed and gets to go to the ball where she meets the lovely Prince Charming, who she eventually marries, and because of that she gets herself out of a really rather unpleasant situation and lives happily ever after, of course. And here we've got another example of some really lovely over-the-top costumes. To do this task well, first of all you need to think about the character that you'd like to design for, And there are some main characters in Cinderella. Obviously there's Cinderella herself, there are the ugly stepsisters, there's an evil stepmother, there's a fairy godmother, there's Cinderella's mice, there's Prince Charming, and there's also Buttons. So what you want to do is choose which character you want to design for. And of course you can design for more than one character if you wish. So look at other examples of designs for that character, and I've included quite a few on this PowerPoint. Let your imagination go wild, okay? I'd like to see some really over-the-top designs. Because remember, it's for the stage, and not just the stage, it's for a pantomime. So you really, really want to make it stand out. If you decide to design for Cinderella herself, then there's lots of different outfits that she would be wearing during the pantomime, going from when she's poor cinders by the fire to when she goes to the ball. If you're designing for the ugly sisters, you can have a great deal of fun. Their outfits can be glamorous, but their faces, maybe something else. I really like the examples I've included here for the evil stepmother. In some of the examples, the evil stepmother does look very evil, and she looks pretty ugly too. But in others, she's quite glamorous. So it's up to you to decide what sort of style you're going to give the evil stepmother if you're going to design for her. If you look at the examples of the fairy godmother, they're quite similar. So if you choose to design for her, maybe you'll come up with something a bit more interesting than the examples I've shown. I think designing for the mice is a much more ambitious task. So you'd like to make it cute and you'd like to make it fun. So let's quickly recap on the task you've been asked to do. So what I'd like is for you to design a costume for one of the characters from the pantomime Cinderella. So I'd like you to choose a character and come up with your own unique design for it. I'd like it to be fully coloured, and you might be able to add extra things such as buttons and sequins, anything like that that you think will enhance your design. You can use the other designs to influence you, the ones I've included on the PowerPoint, but don't simply copy. I want it to be your own design. You can do more than one design, and you can design for more than one character if you wish. That's up to you. Here are some examples of designs that people have done for costumes, either for screen or for stage. Here are some more lovely designs, and I think you can see how much detail the design artist has tried to get into the drawings. Maybe you could try to do the same thing. And once again, another set of examples showing lots of bright, cheery designs that you could use as stimulus to help you come up with your designs.